Hi, this is your Sapil Bharti, and we are back with our yearly video predictions. And today we have with us once again Arun Gupta, Vice President of Developer Experience at JetBrains. Arun, it's great to have you back on the show.
I'm very happy to be here, Swapnil.
It's my pleasure. Now, of course, you changed roles, so now you are at JetBrains. Before I ask you to grab your crystal ball and share your predictions with us, quickly tell our viewers what is JetBrains all about and what is your role there at the company.
Yeah, so JetBrains creates intelligent software developer tools that have been trusted by over 15 million users. And 88 of the Fortune Global top 100 companies, they use our tools. It's basically a lineup of about 30 plus products, including award-winning IDEs like IntelliJ IDEA, PyCharm, name a language, and we have a tool for that, as well as JetBrains AI-powered coding assistant and coding agent like Junie, Melum, JetBrains Focus LLM, and purpose-built for code-related tasks. And we also have product boosting team tools like UTrack, Kadana, and TeamCity. JetBrains is also the creator of Kotlin, a cross-platform language that is used by more than 2.5 million developers a year. The company itself is headquartered in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and has offices around the world.
Excellent. Thank you. Now it's time for you to grab your crystal ball and share your predictions with us.
It is a very exciting time, actually. So I have, this is where I'm thinking about 2026 is when I'm expecting AI coding tools grow up. This is where I'm expecting the move fast and break things phase ends. We expect more enterprises to start prioritizing the quality of software development over the speed with which it can be created, because quality is always paramount. So I got 4 predictions. I believe interoperability is the first one. 2025 gave us a whole bunch of standards, quite a few, if not a whole bunch, foundational layer, MCP, A2A, A2UI, ACP. There are 3 different kinds of ACPs. 2026 is the year when we will move from interesting to mandatory. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is critical standards are still missing. So how do you do agent memory context formats? How do you do security identity frameworks? How do you do development workflow integration patterns? All of those standards are going to emerge. And I believe Agentic AI Foundation is going to play a good role over there. We are a member of the Agentic AI Foundation, so we'll definitely be shepherding that part over there. JetBrains themselves worked on ACP, which allows us to say, hey, you can bring any coding agent to JetBrains IDE because we are an open platform. That's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, spec-driven development, which is a phenomena that has been on the rise in 2025. I think it's going to pick up mainstream momentum. What's happening there? Vibe coding is a one-shot approach. You put a prompt, it generates a code, but organizations have realizing that iterative prompt-based development creates unmaintainable code base. It lacks audit trails, doesn't scale to team environments, all sorts of stuff happening. So the shift is going to happen where it's going to be split between 2 distinct phases. Thinking, where human write clear specifications, architecture decisions, business logic, functional, non-functional requirements, all of that goes in there. Second phase is the doing, where agent creates an implementation plan and builds it up. This is not just a methodology. It becomes the only viable approach for regulated industries like finance, healthcare, government that need clear accountability for code provenance. Just like TDD kind of changed the game, I think spec-driven development is going to improve AI collaboration by separating intent from execution. From JetBrains' perspective, we expect our IDEs to be the natural home for SDD. Semantic understanding within the IDE will ensure that the agents have the accurate context, refactoring tools, bridge spec updates to implementation changes, and all the fun stuff that you're used to. Third prediction, the multi-agent development environment will arrive. Single agent has worked well. On the bottom right, you drop something in there, it does something for you, generates the code. But complex development require orchestration of specialized agents. One for implementation, one for testing, one for documentation, another for security analysis. That's where the IDEs are going to evolve from just code editor plus AI copilot to a really agent orchestration hub. Developers, people like me, they become natural conductors. They would be directing multiple specialized agents while maintaining the architectural vision and making the critical judgment calls on what that needs to be done. Open standards like ACP would really allow that. So if you have an agent that you want to integrate with an IDE, yeah, don't lock into a vendor. So that would be great. Fourth one, the last prediction that I have is enterprise AI governance is really key. It's going to move from nice have to really a compliance requirement. So AI generated code really is generating a lot of code, but how does that work for legal security and compliance? How can we involve them earlier? The questions aren't does this work, but question is, can we audit this? Who's liable if this fails? The shift is going to be AI tools going to face the same scrutiny as any enterprise software. Where are my auditors? Where are my policy enforcement? How do I review integration? Where are my accountability changes? The regulatory driver is going to be a big part of it. So insurance companies will start requiring governance frameworks for regulated industries like finance and healthcare. And of course, this is very much part of our DNA on how we have done deep integration with team workflows, security scanning, code review, all of that. So we are not going to be bolting on compliance. Is how we have always worked. So I'm hoping that in the next 12 months with these 4 predictions, enterprises will shift from chasing AI-driven speed to understanding that quality and reliability always trump velocity. Focus on quality and reliability, and that'll make you a lot more productive.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing these 4 predictions with us. Can you talk about what are some of the challenges or bottlenecks that you see organizations will face this year?
We are moving at a very rapid pace, so there are definitely some challenges to come. The first one, we talked about standards. So there'll be a standards coordination problem. Multiple competing standards. So if we take an example of a commerce protocol, there are 2 or 3 commerce protocols evolving. Each vendor will start picking different subsets, implement different versions, and then enterprise will end up needing translation layers between translation layers. Some of us, depending upon how long you have been with the technology, remember that Death Star with SOAP wisdom. So that's definitely going to be a challenge here. So the idea here is, can you actually run Claude plus GPT-4 plus a security agent in the same workflow without custom glue code? Most organizations can't in 2026. I mean, a simple example, Anthropic doesn't even support agent.md. They call it as a Claude.md. So things like those, they need to kind of shuffle up and need to clean up so that we can do better on that. The second challenge, we talked about spec-driven development, is around specification authorship gap. Writing good specifications is a skill that developers haven't practiced in the move fast era. Organizations will start discovering their teams don't know how to write spec that agents can execute effectively. One part is to write it for human comprehension. The other part is where agents can pick it up, and the thinking phase takes longer than expected, but then the execution becomes that much more impactful. So can your senior developers write specs that junior developers and AI agents can implement consistently? That is a skill that we will have to learn. The other challenge that we're going to face is the orchestration complexity. Multi-agent workflows sound elegant, but are operationally nightmarish. Which agents run when? How do you handle conflicts between agent outputs? Who debugs when 3 agents touch the code? What breaks? When the security agent flags 30 issues in code the implementation agent just wrote, can your system resolve it automatically, or it just creates additional work? How do we clean up AI slop? That's a challenge. The other one, which is very essential, is humans. This is a cultural resistance layer. This requires developers to change how they work from hands-on coding, right? Hello world, generate the code, but spec writing, agent orchestration. So many experienced developers will resist becoming conductors because it doesn't feel like real programming. That, oh, what do you mean? The agent is going to write the code and I'm going to do it? That's going to be a challenge. So, organizations may split into factions like AI natives who embrace the agent right away, and craft people who see that this is a skill degradation. So I think there are definitely a bunch of challenges. I don't think we're going to be able to solve them within 26, but it's more likely going to be 27, 28 timeframe. 26 is going to be more about discovering these bottlenecks and not solving them. Some organizations will fail and then eventually come out of it successful.
What kind of opportunities do you see there will be there? Because sometimes challenges, problems lead to opportunities because someone has to solve those problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there are opportunities, just abundant of opportunities here. The first one is really the what I call it as an integration layer gold rush, right? Someone needs to solve the m multiplied by n problem of making these competing standards actually work with each other. Not the standard themselves, but the translation layers, the compatibility frameworks, and the agent routing infrastructure. So companies that make interoperability work. So something like Stripe didn't create payment standards, they just made payments reliable. So, for example, JetBrains, whatever MCP did, for changing m multiplied by n to m plus n, with ACP we did that for a universal adapter for agent IDE integration. We don't pick winners. We want everything to work. That's the opportunity that is very clear. The specification tooling market is very, very early. So writing good specs is a learned skill most developers lack. So huge market for intelligent tooling that validates specs, suggesting missing details, translate business requirements into agent executable specs. Your design is sitting in Figma. How do you bring that into the spec? It's sitting in a UML diagram. How do you translate that into the spec? MCP servers that can automatically translate all of that. How can you create like a Grammarly for software specification so that as you're writing the spec, it says, this is not right. I don't get the context here. Clean it up. So I think that's going to be a massive one. There's definitely an opportunity for governance as a service opportunity. So enterprises can't build governance frameworks from scratch. That's not their core competency. They're really looking at solving their customer problem. So we need turnkey solutions, policy templates, pre-built audit dashboards, compliance certifications, things like that. Are your agents running in the cloud or locally? How do you ensure they're meeting the compliance requirements? So that's definitely an opportunity. I hope organizations will pick it up. So we don't, within JetBrains, we don't build governance policies, but we become the enforcement point. So our IDEs will ensure that agents can bypass those established rules. So we could be the bouncer that makes governance mandatory, not optional. There is, of course, going to be the entire way the boot camps are done today is going to be flipped on its head. You can't go to a boot camp, say, I know Java now, I learned, CI/CD and DevOps, and I'm right away available for employable. So that training certification market, is going to evolve quite rapidly. Educational platforms, boot camps, everything needs to be shuffled up. And I believe, last but not the least, really, the agent skills marketplace. As workflow standardize, there's a value in pre-built domain-specific agent configurations, not generic agents, but something like, I need a Spring Boot microservice generator following our patterns. Our means my organization patterns. Here is the agent skill. So now I'm spinning up a new repo. I can point to that agent skill. Agent will know exactly what the context is and generate the thing out there. React components matching our design system. So things like that, agent skills become the standard format for hopefully sharing capabilities and get integrated into the IDE. So it becomes a lot easier that way. So the biggest win isn't one single capability, is being the trusted guide through these transitions. I think that's the meta opportunity. And in terms of JetBrains, we have had 25 years of developer trust and a track record of navigating major transitions, Java to Kotlin, manual to automated refactoring. So I think we are very well positioned in that sense to guide the industry through AI development.
What's your actionable advice for enterprise leaders, developers, teams? What should they start doing now to be ready? Because a lot of things we have already seen, what is working, what is not working, so they don't make mistakes. And also it's beginning of the year, so it's very good time to get started. So what's your actionable advice to them?
I would say, even if you're not using agents, start learning the art of writing specifications. Probably the specification authorship gap is your biggest risk. Sometimes we forget how to write clear, complete specs because they've been iterating directly in the code itself. So pick up, like say, 2-3 upcoming features require writing return specs before implementing. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for practice. That, hey, am I exactly implementing what's in the spec? From the spec, I make the implementation plan. And anybody and everybody is experiment with a wide range of coding agents. So ask, interrogate the coding agent to help you write a good spec. Interrogate the coding agent to help you write a good implementation plan. And as a developer, review it, that you are the human in the loop. So wait until, if you wait until you adopt AI agents to start writing specs, by then it might be too late. So really start implementing that. How do you write a good spec, first of all? Second would be really start auditing your tool chain for interoperability. Standards inflection point is going to happen sometime in 2026, 2027 timeframe. So if your tool chain is logged into proprietary formats, you'll be stuck when open protocols become mandatory, particularly from those regulated industries. So what do you do? Inventory every development tool. Does it support open standards or proprietary APIs? Test a simple workflow. Can you move your context from your IDE to CI/CD and code review tools without manual export-import? Identify your highest risk vendor logins and create migration contingencies. So you can swap one AI coding tool for another without rewriting your entire workflow. That's your success metric. I would say budget for the transition dip. We all know about the J curve. Every organization underestimates that J curve. The productivity dips for the first 3 to 6 months as the team is learning new workflow before it climbs above baseline. So set realistic expectation with stakeholders that, hey, we're going to be slower. If you start now, we're going to be slower in Q2, Q3, but we will get faster in Q4. So setting that expectations, human expectations, is going to be critical over there. Set up like an AI code governance. This is not your security team, but this is where you're creating a cross-functional role, engineering, legal, compliance. Start with basic questions. What audit trail do we need for code? Who approves AI generated code? What's our policy on AI touching security critical code? So start doing that analysis, which you should be doing already. The do nothing option, if you're not ready to commit to the above, is fine, but be honest about wait and see what that means. If you will adopt in 2027, 28, when standards are stabilized and best practices emerge, you'll pay consultants to really implement what early adopters learn for free. So be on the bleeding edge, get out there, play with it. You'll fail, but you will stumble, but you'll recover and run faster.
What is going to be your as well as JetBrains focus as well as priority this year to help customers navigate this future?
We have been doing this for about 25 years and getting almost 26 now in a few days. But what are we building? Really, production-ready ACP implementation across JetBrains IDEs and working with partners to integrate coding agents. We just launched ACP Client Registry that has models from Augment Code, Gemini, Copilot, Mistral, Quen, and others. So what that means is all of these agents are ACP compatible. You come into JetBrains IDE 2025.3 plus, then any ACP compliant agent is available in IDE. So we really don't lock you in. We are truly an open platform. We give you choice. We give you control. We give you transparency in what you're using. We have a bring your own key. You want to use your own cloud card, you can totally do that. So that's make ACP the standard agent IDE integration. We're also starting to think about how do we build native SDD workflows, spec-driven development workflows. Juni, for example, has some opinionated approach on how you can do that spec-driven development within our IDEs. You can already author Markdown and all sorts of stuff, which is where you write the spec, but how can we define a better workflow where from spec to implementation to review could be that cycle. So that's an area where you should hopefully see some traction this year. Agent orchestration hub, that's the normal thing. That's something that we are also looking at. How could we have agents run on the desktop, in the cloud? What would that hybrid agent coordination look like? Of course, governance is an important part of it. That's critical on how we want to share it, how we make sure you have control over which models are allowed, which models are not allowed. Those are the kind of things that we are looking at. We are not restricting ourselves to Juni. While we have Juni as our coding agent, but we are integrating with a wide range of specialized agents. We are not creating our own proprietary agent formats. We are betting on open standards, ACP, A2A, because vendor lock-in hurts customers, and ultimately hurts. And most important, we won't claim AI will replace developers or give you 10x productivity overnight. We believe we not believe developer productivity has been our North Star from the very beginning. So we are focused on sustainable, governable, maintainable AI assisted development. So that's sort of what our focus is. That's what we're looking at, really.
Arun, thank you so much for joining me and sharing these predictions with us. I did not want to put you under pressure, so I didn't say that in the beginning, but I would love to have you back on the show at the end of the year to see how many of your predictions turn out to be true and get new set of predictions. But I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that'll be great to come back at the end of the year.